Thanks for taking the time to watch our first video, which highlighted our proposed facility projects. In that video, we gave you some detail about what's proposed in those four projects, and then also gave you a little bit of the background that led us to the decision where we feel like these are the priorities for our facilities at this time. In this video, video 2, we want to highlight the overall cost for these projects and also talk a little bit about the tax impact that is part of the bond referendum that the public will be able to vote on February 7, 2017. In this video, we'll highlight the district's overall tax rate and give you a little history on where that's been. We'll compare our current tax rate to the districts that surround us, and then we'll also talk a little bit about the impact that individual property owners might experience as a result of this bonding process. So a little PowerPoint to highlight those things. If you'll stick with us, we'll go through that now. One of the first questions that I often get asked after we explain the projects that are part of the bond issue is, what is the cost for these projects? And that's certainly a good question. As you can see on this slide, the total cost for these four projects that were highlighted in video 1 is $9 million. And that's a lot of money. It's not something that we take lightly, asking the public for funds to deal with our facility needs. And so a lot of thought and conversation went into that dollar amount, and as you can see from the projects, a lot of thought went into the projects themselves. Often the next question that I get asked is, what is the district's bonding capacity? In other words, how much money could the district ask for from the taxpayers? And our bonding capacity, similar to like a credit card limit, is $22 million. And the reason that that's significant is we are not asking the public for the most that we can ask for. We're not maxing out our credit card limit in this situation, and only asking for what we really feel are the most important priorities to address at this time. The other thing that's significant about that bonding capacity, if there were to be unforeseen situations that come up in the future, let's say 5-10 years down the road, we would have some bonding capacity left to address those needs. We don't predict or see anything in the future that we would need to address, but it does give us a little bit of reassurance that there is room there if we need to ask or borrow more money in the future. And so that's a significant factor in this conversation. The next slide talks a little bit about the tax rates for our surrounding districts for 2017. And the thing that I want to highlight here just simply is where Roland Story ranks in that list. The specific number is significant, but probably more importantly is the fact that we are the lowest tax rate for school districts in the surrounding area. And there's good reason for that. Over the years, the district has only asked for the amount of money that we need to provide the best learning environment we can for kids, but certainly not burden the taxpayers in doing so. And so that puts us at $12.03 per $1,000 of taxable valuation. I'll explain that a little bit more in the coming slides. And you can see that some of the other districts are much higher than us, and there's reasons for that as well. Overall tax rate implications, and this is where we talk a little bit about the history of where we've been as a district and why our tax rate is at $12.03. The total district tax rate in 2012 was $15.93. And then for 6 consecutive years, the board has voted to lower the tax rate on our taxpayers, moving us down to a tax rate in 2017 of $12.03, which you saw on the previous slide. And we think that's important, that we only ask for the amount of money that we really truly need to serve the kids in our district. And you can see for 6 consecutive years, the school board has lowered the tax rate on our taxpayers. The additional tax rate on a $9 million bond will be $2.11, bringing the total tax rate up to $14.14. And if I go back to the previous slide, you'll see that $14.14 still keeps us very near the bottom of the list compared to other school districts around us. It would still allow us to maintain a low tax rate, even with the $9 million bond in place at $2.11. I want to talk a little bit about that $2.11 and the $14.14 cent total tax rate. That's paid back over a 16-year period, and the board had some conversations specifically about that. We could have extended that bond payback period out to 20 years, but in discussions with the board, they felt it was important to pay that back as quickly as we could to limit the amount of interest that would be required to be paid back on those bonds. And so moving it from 20 years down to 16 saves the taxpayers in our community $600,000 in interest. So that was a significant conversation that the board had, and we came to that $2.11 in a payback period of 16 years with significant conversation. So the approval of a $9 million bond will still allow for a much lower tax rate than we had just 6 years ago. Again, 6 years ago we were at $15.93, and then with the $2.11 added on for the $9 million worth of projects that we're considering at this time, will only be at $14.14. So how does that impact the individual property owners in our community? Well, you see on this slide a couple different charts. First of all, it's the residential assessed value and how that will impact our homeowners in the community, and then also the ag assessed value per acre, and so how that will impact those people who own ag ground and farm it in our community as well. So just talk a little bit about this. If you have a home that's assessed at $100,000, there's a formula that gets put into that, and it includes a rollback of about 45%, making that $100,000 home taxed at about $55,000. And then there's also the homestead credit, which will take another $4,800 off of that number. And so if you have a $100,000 home and a home that's assessed at $100,000, you're really only taxed on about $50,000 of that assessed value. And so the monthly increase in taxes for someone who owns a $100,000 home is $8.92. A $200,000 home, $18.70. And obviously you can see the ag numbers there. I think the important thing to notice is we put this into a context where most people are paid on a every week or every 2 weeks or a monthly basis, but a lot of families set up their budgets monthly. And you can see just how this would impact you on a monthly basis depending on the value of your property, the value of your home. If you want to know the specific amount that the projects would increase your taxes, please give me a call. I have a calculator where I can plug in your exact assessed value. It will go through the calculations for us, and it will give us a number that is exact on how much $9 million worth of bonds or $2.11 is the increase would impact you personally. Again, if you have any questions about these projects, the overall cost, the tax impact on you personally as a property owner in our community, please don't hesitate to give me a call or shoot me an email. We want to make sure that you have all the information you need to make the appropriate decision on February 7, 2017 as you go to the ballot box and vote on whether or not we should proceed with these projects that you've heard about here. Again, thanks for taking the time to watch the videos. And we hope that you'll continue to watch the videos as we load them on here and learn a little bit more about what's involved and why we have these needs in our current facilities at Roland Story Community Schools. Thanks.